The Blue Horizon Motel crouched on the edge of Route 66 in the Texas Panhandle, its neon sign a swirling blue wave that flickered against the velvet night, casting reflections in puddles left by a rare desert rain. The air was heavy with petrichor, a sharp mix of ozone and damp earth, the wind rustling the lone palm tree in the lot like whispers of secrets too heavy to speak. I sat on the concrete steps of room 4, my jeans rolled up to my calves, barefoot toes tracing patterns in the wet gravel, the coolness grounding me against the restless hum in my chest. My white tank top clung to my skin, damp from the humidity, and my auburn hair was pulled into a messy bun, loose strands curling against my neck in the evening chill. The sky was a tapestry of clouds, parting just enough to reveal a sliver of stars, their light faint against the neon's bold blue glow. A truck roared past on the highway, its headlights slicing through the rain-soaked dark, leaving a low rumble that echoed like a heartbeat in the quiet. My name's Mia, and I'm 30, a mechanic who spent the last 5 years patching together cars and trucks along this endless ribbon of asphalt, my hands stained with grease, my heart stitched from too many breaks. I'd pulled into the Blue Horizon that evening after a grueling day towing a sedan with a blown engine from Amarillo, my own truck, a battered Chevy with a toolbox rattling in the bed, parked haphazardly across the lot. The motel sign had caught my eye through the rain, its blue wave promising shelter, maybe even solace, in a way the road rarely did. I'd checked in with the clerk, Hank, a grizzled man with a beard like steel wool and eyes that sized me up like I was another transient to forget. He'd handed me the key to room 4 with a grunt, muttering, "No pets, no parties," before retreating to his office, where a radio crackled with old country tunes. I'd paid with damp bills from my last job, the cash smelling faintly of motor oil, and hauled my duffel bag, a faded canvas thing stuffed with work clothes, a wrench set, a dog-eared road atlas, and a few photos I never looked at, to the room. Room 4 was small, almost claustrophobic, with a nautical theme that felt out of place in the desert, walls painted a soft blue with faint wave patterns, a double bed draped in blankets stitched with whitecaps, and a seashell-shaped lamp on the nightstand casting an azure glow that softened the room's worn edges. The air carried the scent of damp wood and a faint saltiness, like an echo of an ocean I'd never seen, mixed with the metallic tang of my own sweat. I kicked off my work boots, the soles caked with mud, and sank onto the bed, the mattress creaking under my weight. The rain's steady patter against the window was soothing, a rare moment of calm in a life spent moving. I'd always loved storms, they felt like the world hitting reset, washing away the dust and the weight of the road. But tonight, something stirred in me, a restlessness I couldn't pin down, like the air was charged with a story waiting to break free. I stepped outside, needing to feel the night, and settled on the steps, a can of soda cold against my palm. The neon wave pulsed above, its light rippling across the wet asphalt, and I watched the rain slow to a drizzle, the clouds parting to reveal a crescent moon. The palm fronds swayed, their rustle blending with the distant hum of Route 66, and I let my mind wander, to the cars I'd fixed, the towns I'd passed through, the men who'd promised more than they could give. My last relationship, with a trucker named Caleb, had ended in a dive bar in Oklahoma, his words sharp as he walked away, leaving me with a half-empty beer and a heart too bruised to trust. The road had been my escape, my way of keeping the pieces together, but it was lonely, and I was tired of running. The purr of an engine broke my thoughts, distinct from the truck's, a sleek, throaty hum that cut through the rain's rhythm. A black convertible rolled into the lot, its top defiantly down, water beating on its hood like scattered jewels. The driver parked under the neon sign, his blonde hair slicked back, rain glistening on his sharp cheekbones. He stepped out. Tall and lean, with gray eyes that caught the blue light like storm clouds holding lightning. His grin was easy, almost reckless, and he wore a denim jacket over a soaked t-shirt, jeans clinging to his legs, cuffs dark with water. A small backpack was slung over one shoulder, its straps frayed, and he moved with a confidence that made the night feel smaller, more alive. "Rough night?" he asked, his voice warm, like summer rain, with a playful edge that made my pulse quicken. "Mia," I said, standing, brushing gravel from my jeans. "And yeah, you could say that. You look like you're enjoying the storm." He laughed, shaking water from his hair, droplets catching the neon's glow. "Nolan. And I like a little rain. Makes the road feel like it's got a pulse." He gestured to his car, where steam rose faintly from the hood. "Radiators shot, though. You know anything about engines?" I grinned, nodding toward my truck. "I'm a mechanic. Want me to take a look?" His eyes lit up, a spark of surprise and something else, interest, maybe. We moved to his car, the rain a soft patter now, and I popped the hood, the neon's blue light illuminating the engine's guts. My hands moved on instinct, tracing hoses and bolts, diagnosing a cracked radiator hose in minutes. "Easy fix," I said, grabbing a spare hose and tools from my truck. We worked together, his hand steady as he passed me wrenches, our fingers brushing in the tight space, each touch sending a jolt through me. The rain stopped, the clouds parting fully now, and the moon cast a silver glow over us, blending with the neon's blue. We talked as we worked, about the road, the storms we'd driven through, the way Route 66 seemed to hold stories in its cracks. He'd been everywhere, he said, writing freelance pieces for magazines, chasing tales of drifters and dreamers. I told him about the cars I'd fixed, the diners where I'd eaten, the way the road felt like both a prison and a promise. When the car was fixed, he offered me a soda from his cooler, and we leaned against his convertible, the metal cool and slick under my palms. The neon wave pulsed above, its light painting his face in shades of blue, and his gray eyes held mine, steady and searching. "You're not like most folks I meet out here," he said, his voice low, almost intimate. "There's a spark in you, Mia. Like you're carrying a storm inside." I laughed, but my heart raced, a warmth spreading through me. "You don't know me." "I'd like to," he said, and the air shifted, charged like the lightning that had flashed earlier. We moved to my room, the door clicking shut behind us, sealing us in with the seashell lamp's azure glow and the faint scent of rain. We sat on the bed, the wave-patterned blankets soft beneath us, and shared stories, his about a ghost town in Nevada where he'd written a feature, mine about a truck stop in Missouri where I'd fixed a rig under a full moon. His hand found mine, his fingers warm, calloused from typing or maybe something else, and when he leaned in, his breath against my cheek, I didn't pull away. His kiss was electric, like lightning striking the desert, soft at first, then deepening, his hand sliding to my waist, pulling me close. Our bodies moved together, passionate and deep, the bed creaking, the neon's hum blending with the rain's fading song outside. As we lay tangled in the blankets afterward, his arm heavy across my waist, I felt alive, my heart pounding with something I hadn't felt in years. But a flicker in his gray eyes, distant and guarded, hinted at secrets he wasn't sharing, and I wondered what storms he was carrying. Dawn broke over the blue horizon, the sky a clear, endless blue that mirrored the motel's neon sign, now pale and lifeless in the sunlight. The air was fresh, the petrichor replaced by the sharp scent of sage and dry dust, and birds chattered in the palm tree, their calls sharp against the morning's quiet. I woke to find Nolan gone, his side of the bed cool, but his backpack was still on the floor, its straps tangled like a lifeline. I heard the shower running, and relief washed over me, though it was laced with unease. I sat up, the wave-patterned blanket sliding off. My tank top wrinkled from the night, and reached for my jeans. That's when I saw it, a silver locket, small and worn, glinting on the carpet where it had fallen from his pocket. My fingers trembled as I picked it up, the metal cool against my skin, and I opened it to find a photo of a woman, her smile soft, her dark eyes warm, framed by chestnut hair. My stomach twisted, a cold wave crashing over me, and I snapped the locket shut as the shower stopped. Nolan emerged, a towel wrapped around his waist, his blonde hair damp and tousled, water beading on his shoulders. "Morning," he said, his grin faltering when he saw the locket in my hand. He froze, just for a second, his gray eyes darkening. "That's my sister's," he said, but his hesitation was a crack in the facade, heavy as the humidity still clinging to the room. "Your sister?" I asked, my voice sharp, holding up the locket. "She doesn't look like family, Nolan." He sighed, sinking onto the bed, the mattress creaking under his weight. He ran a hand through his hair, droplets falling to the carpet. "Okay, not my sister," he admitted, his voice low, raw with something like regret. "Her name's Claire. My ex-fiancé. We broke it off a year ago, in a diner just off this road." I set the locket on the nightstand, my heart pounding, the seashell lamp's blue glow suddenly cold. "Why do you still carry her picture?" He looked down, his hands clasped, the towel slipping slightly. "It's complicated," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Claire was everything, for a while. We were gonna get married, had a whole life planned. But she wanted Dallas, a corporate job, stability. I wanted the road, the stories. We couldn't make it work." He met my eyes, his gaze raw, open. I kept the locket to remind myself what I'm looking for, something real, not just a plan. His words were a tide, pulling me under, and I looked away, my fingers digging into the blanket. "And what's this, Nolan? What are we?" He reached for my hand, his fingers warm, steady. "This is real, Mia. Last night, you made me feel like I could stop running." I wanted to believe him, but doubt churned, sharp as the gravel under my feet last night. We dressed in silence, me in my jeans and tank top, him in a fresh t-shirt and jeans from his backpack. Over coffee at the motel's picnic table, the sun warming our skin, he told me more about Claire, how they'd met at a bar in Austin, how their love had been fierce but fragile, how she'd left him with a note and a cold coffee. I shared my own scars, Caleb, the trucker who'd promised forever, then cheated with a waitress in Tulsa, an engagement in my 20s to a man who'd vanished when I needed him most. The road had been my refuge, my way of keeping my heart safe, but Nolan's touch had cracked that armor, and I wasn't sure if it was breaking or healing. We spent the day together, driving his convertible along Route 66, the wind whipping through our hair, the top down now that the rain had gone. We stopped at a diner with cracked vinyl booths and a jukebox playing old blues, sharing fries and stories. His hand rested on mine across the table, his thumb tracing circles on my skin, and for a while, I believed we could outrun our pasts. We worked on another car at a gas station down the road, me guiding his hands as we replaced a fan belt, our laughter mixing with the clank of tools. But the locket lingered in my mind, a weight I couldn't shake, and when we returned to the Blue Horizon that evening, the neon wave flickering to life, I felt the tide turning. We sat outside, the air cool now, the palm fronds rustling in the breeze. I leaned against his shoulder, his arm around me, the denim of his jacket rough against my skin. "What happens when you leave, Nolan?" I asked, my voice quiet, almost lost in the neon's hum. "Will you carry me like you carry her?" He turned to me, his gray eyes fierce, catching the blue light. "You're not her, Mia. You're the real thing." He pulled the locket from his pocket, opened it, and stood, walking to the edge of the lot where a small canyon dropped into darkness. He tossed it in, the metal glinting as it fell, a soft clink echoing as it hit the rocks below. "I choose you," he said, his voice firm, and he pulled me into his arms, his lips finding mine under the neon's glow. My heart surged, but doubt still churned, a current beneath the surface. We went back to my room, the door clicking shut, and made love again, fiercer this time, like we were drowning out the ghosts that haunted us. The bed creaked, the seashell lamp casting waves on our skin, and as we moved together, I tried to believe his promise. His hands were sure, his breath hot against my neck, and for those moments, the world was just us, no locket, no past, no road. But as I drifted to sleep, his arms around me, the neon's hum blending with his steady breathing, I wondered if a tossed locket could erase a history, or if love found in a motel was just a tide that would recede with the dawn. Days turned into weeks at the Blue Horizon, the motel transforming into a haven amid the vastness of Route 66. Nolan and I fell into a rhythm that felt like home, mornings spent fixing cars together, my hands guiding his as we worked on engines in the lot, grease smudging our skin, afternoons driving the road, stopping at overlooks where the desert stretched red and endless, the wind carrying the scent of sage, evenings back at the motel, sharing beers and stories under the neon wave's azure glow. His touch became familiar, his laugh a sound I craved, and he'd tease me about my grease-stained hands, calling me his gearhead goddess. I'd laugh, swatting his arm, my heart lighter than it had been in years, the weight of my past lifting with each day we spent together. We'd work on his convertible, tuning it up, and he'd tell me about the stories he wanted to write, a book about the people of Route 66, the drifters and dreamers who made the road their home. I'd share my own dreams, ones I'd buried under years of oil changes and tire patches, opening a garage of my own, maybe in a small town where the stars were bright and the road was just a memory. He'd listen, his gray eyes soft, and say, "You could do it, Mia. You're tougher than any engine I've seen." His words were a spark, igniting something I'd thought was gone, and I started sketching plans in my road atlas, pages filled with notes for a future I hadn't dared imagine. But Claire's shadow lingered, a ripple in our calm, surfacing in quiet moments. I'd catch him staring at the horizon, his eyes distant, like he was seeing her face in the clouds. I'd think of my own past, Caleb, the engagement that crumbled, the man who'd left me with nothing but a toolbox and a broken heart. I'd sworn never to trust like that again, but Nolan's warmth, his steady hands, made me want to try. I'd watch him write in his journal, his pen moving furiously, and wonder what stories he wasn't telling me, what tide still pulled at him. One night, a storm rolled in, the sky darkening with clouds that churned like the ocean the motel's theme evoked. Rain pounded the roof, lightning flashing across the lot, and we sat outside under the awning, the neon wave pulsing through the downpour. I couldn't hold it in anymore, the doubt crashing over me like a wave. "Is she still in your heart, Nolan?" I asked, my voice shaking, barely audible over the storm. "Is Claire still there?" He turned to me, his face raw with emotion, rain dripping from his hair. "No," he said, his voice firm, cutting through the wind. "She's gone, Mia. I was running from her, from the life we planned, when I found you." He stood, pulling me to my feet, rain soaking us both, and kissed me, his lips desperate and sure, tasting of rain and resolve. "You're my horizon," he said, his hands framing my face, and I felt the truth in his words, a current pulling us together. We stumbled back to room 4, our clothes dripping on the carpet, and he showed me his journal, pages filled with stories of the road, but the last entry was about me, my strength, my laugh, the way I made him feel alive. "This is what I want," he said, his voice low, urgent. "You. Us." We made love that night, slow and tender, the storm's rhythm blending with ours, the seashell lamp casting waves on our skin, blue and endless. His hands traced my body like he was memorizing every curve, every scar, and I let myself believe, let myself fall. The next week, he proposed we leave together, head west to California, where he'd write his book and I'd open my garage. My heart pounded, fear and hope warring within me, a storm of my own. I thought of the road, the motels, the life I'd built to keep moving, to keep my heart safe. But Nolan's hand in mine felt like home, like an anchor in the tide, and I nodded, my throat tight with tears. "Okay," I whispered. "Let's do it." We packed our bags, his backpack, my toolbox, my road atlas filled with dreams, and climbed into his convertible, the top up against the morning drizzle. The blue horizon faded in the rearview mirror, its neon wave a memory against the dawn, the palm tree swaying like a farewell. Route 66 stretched ahead, wide and uncertain, but his hand found mine, his smile steady, his gray eyes bright with promise. We drove west, the desert giving way to green hills, the air growing cooler, scented with salt and possibility. Love on Route 66 was a tide, ebbing and flowing, sometimes calm, sometimes stormy, but it was ours. We stopped at a roadside stand that afternoon, sharing a peach from a local vendor, its juice dripping down our chins as we laughed. He wrote in his journal, and I sketched in my atlas, our dreams intertwining like the road itself. The horizon was endless, blue and open, and as we drove, his hand on my knee, I felt the weight of the past lift, replaced by a current of hope, carrying us toward a future we'd build together.